continuing continuing the discussion of interpersonal attraction and what predicts attraction or makes attraction more likely. All right, physiological arousal. It's a biggie. All right, your body feelings make a difference. Whether your heart starts beating, whether someone makes your heart go all aflutter, using Jane Austen type of language. Whether you find someone attractive is also a related concept, but I'm going to talk about that separately. I'm going to talk about physical attraction separately. So when we talk about physiological arousal, when you feel excitement, when you feel exhilaration, like maybe you got a test coming up and you're like, all right, test, it's almost time for the test. I'm ready. I hope I'm ready. Those physical sensations that you get, like your heart's probably beating. You might be sweating and shaking, and maybe you're talking really fast, or you're experiencing physiological arousal. And when you are sexually attracted to somebody, you experience physiological arousal. Your body feels different ways. And so we can't discount that, that matters, all right? So things that get your body excited can contribute to attraction. All right. So let's see. One thing about physiological arousal is that sometimes you are experiencing physiological, there we go, I did it. Physiological arousal. Sometimes you feel it in the presence of another person because they are exciting or incredibly hot to you. That's the straightforward version of things where you're like, wow, they look sexy. Ooh, my body feels this way because that person is sexy. That person is attractive. Sometimes, though, we can get mixed signals. We can confuse other signals or signals with other causes for attraction-based arousal. So sometimes we have misattribution of arousal. This is where we get excited about something else, but we attribute it, we associate it with this person you happen to be with when the something else happens. All right, so this is mistaking physiological arousal due to the environment, mistaking it for sexual attraction or romantic attraction. All right, so, and I know I mentioned it in the video that I posted from a previous semester, but, this can happen like when you see movies where people have to go through something exciting, and then maybe they don't seem to like each other in the beginning, but then after all this excitement, now they're like, all right, here comes the big kiss scene, or they realize that they like each other. Some students have asked for, they'll ask examples from things that they've seen. One that a lot of students will ask about from the first season of Stranger Things when Nancy and what's his name? Jonathan. When Nancy and Jonathan, when they didn't seem to like each other at first, but then when they were going through, the adventure and the excitement of trying to figure out what had happened to Barb and what had happened to Will, and then they started to realize their attraction for each other. It took them a while before they actually acted on it. All right, and other examples from other movies too, where people start off, they're not that excited, then something exciting happens to them. And so why might this happen? We have this thing called the excitation transfer effect. This is where we transfer our excitement, our physiological arousal. Our heart is pumping, and all the bodily sensations that we have is like excitement. It's from something else, but we transfer it to the person that we're with at the time. So we transfer excitement over the situation to excitement about the person. And so in one study, this is the shaky bridge study that I find that some students have heard of this before from other classes. It's okay if you haven't. I will, assume that you haven't heard about it before. And so the men were more likely to call a female experimenter for a date if they exchanged phone numbers while standing on a shaky bridge versus a stable bridge. All right, and some of the research in the area of attraction, the students will find it kind of sketchy, and they're like, wait a minute, you shouldn't do experiments where you trick people into thinking they're going to get a real date. Some of the research has been of this type. There's even one, I'll get to it later, but there have even been some potentially more controversial studies where the actual participants thought that they were signing on to dating or even sexual activity when they weren't. And some people wonder if that's ethically okay, but it has happened. It has been done in the name of science. All right, so then I always debate about whether or not I want to share this with my students, but okay, so your professor was once young, all right? And before I was married, I've been married for a long time, but before I was married, I had some stories having to do with attraction and misattribution of arousal. And so the most noteworthy one, the clearest example of this sort of thing happening is I went out to a movie with a friend. Now this was a friend, all right? So he was a heterosexual male. I was a heterosexual female. All right, I now identify as pansexual, but at the time I was identifying as heterosexual. And we were both single and not particularly interested in each other. And, but we liked each other. We were friends. And so we were bored and we're like, you know what? I want to see that new movie. Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction was the new movie. So this was what, 94? 94, 95, something like that. And so we said, well, let's go see the movie together. We don't have to have a date to see a movie. We don't have to have boyfriends or girlfriends to have a social life. So we go out to see this movie, and then it was a pretty late showing. We're getting back at like 1 a.m. and we're in the parking lot of the dorm, and we're parking, and we got robbed at gunpoint. All right, it was a rare situation, but it happened to us on our not particularly violent campus. We had a little bit of violence. When you get robbed at gunpoint, you get some physiological arousal. My body was, I was terrified. My heart was pumping. I had to run inside, but we got to call the campus police. We got to report what has just happened. And so we had to do the thing where we talk to the police, and the whole time I'm shaking and I'm freaking out, and so then we decide to go upstairs, and I'm like, I'm a little freaked out. He's like, okay, well, yeah, I don't know if either one of us should just go hang out in our room right now and be terrified. And so we decided to just go up to my room and just like watch some junk TV or something. All right. And so we get in the elevator and we're both like, I can't believe that has happened to us. We just got robbed. And then can you predict what was going to happen next? And then these two people, just friends, we turned and we looked at each other, and without thinking whatsoever, we kiss. All right, was it the most romantic kiss ever? It was a kiss, all right, but it had this urgency because we had this physiological arousal, and then afterwards it was so awkward. We're friends, and this happened on February, I think 11th or 12th. February 14th is Valentine's Day. So then we had that awkward thing where he's like talking to his friends. He's like, do I have to get her a Valentine's present? And then I'm like, let him know it's okay. We are not I know we're not a couple. I know we're not a couple. All right. That just happened because of everything going on. All right. So luckily we figured that out. And then he ended up introducing me to my husband. So things worked out. All right. So that's a good example of this misattribution of arousal, or this excitation transfer effect. All of that excitement from being robbed. It's like, what do I do with this? I want to kiss this person now, even though, before that, wasn't thinking it. And after that, wasn't thinking it. All right. So that's what I want you to know about physical. I'm going to be able to say it someday. Physiological arousal. And next, I will talk about physical attraction and research on attraction and what makes people attractive and stuff like that.